I think that they had went into it assuming it would be a match by match basis because I don't think that they had me picked from round one. But after round one or two, they had asked me who I wanted to wrestle in the finals, and so I knew I was at least going that through that to that point. And I think them asking me, I kind of knew, well, I must be going all the way through, or else they would have asked the other guy if who they wanted. You know what I mean? Instead of asking me. So I kind of knew early on. So they did kind of have me picked at a certain point pretty early, but I don't think necessarily from the very beginning. But I mean, they did kind of protect me and baby me all the way through the process, even before the tournament started. So maybe they did have me picked because I remember like, and this is sort of a layered answer to this, just to put it into context. So you go to a
Sure.
place like a WWE when you're a young wrestler and you're used to just being treated like shit. You're lower than dirt, you know? You can't do anything right. And I
Yeah.
remember having been around WWE so many times even before that. I mean, I was doing WWE matches when I was like 21, something like that.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. They treat you like that. So I went into this thinking I'm not going to stay here. This is a great opportunity, but I'm going to move on after this and whatever. And I know what it's like before that, so I'm not going to go in jumping through hoops for these guys because they're going to put it on me anyway. And they didn't. And I remember showing up late for some stuff or just like not following dress codes and thinking I'm going to get reamed or I'm going to get fined or something. And I would come in late to a meeting. They would usher me into a back room and be like, here's what we covered. We'll just catch you up on it real quick. And I'm like, why are you guys babying me so much? You used to yell at me for this type of shit. And
Mm.
so I remember being in the PC in this, before the tournament started and doing workouts and like trying out some things that I do that belongs to other main roster dudes, and guys weren't checking me on it. Or if it was something really important, they'd pull me aside and be like, "Hey, and kind of give me a tip." And they would tell me like later on, like referees or people I'd be working with, they're like, "I knew what they were going to do with you, so I didn't want to see you end up getting into trouble or anything." So maybe they did pick me early on, but I know as of round two, they had asked me who I wanted in the finals. I actually said Zach or Metallic, and they went with Metallic because I think they liked a more layered story. Me and Zach might have been boring to a lot of people because I mean, not everybody likes hammerlocks and octopus holds. So, but they ended up choosing Metallic off my short list.
Yeah, and when I saw you get announced for the Cruiserweight Classic, like I've been a big fan of yours, for a long time prior to the Cruiserweight Classic, and you were my pick. Like I remember sitting down with my buddies, and I was like, "Man, TJP baby, that's my pick," and that was it. And when you won, I was literally like,
Man, you should have put some money down. You're probably one of five people that had me picked.
dude, my son was a new he was only like young, like a newborn at the time, and he was
Yeah.
asleep in like the little thing on the floor, and I remember jumping up, going, fuck yeah, man. Like, and my wife's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, it's all right, little dude. Yeah. My daddy's pick one. But in the WWE, that when you were there, and to be in that situation of being the first holder of a championship belt, and as you said, there was guys there that you felt that they were babying you to sort of help you along because they had a good feeling about you. That feeling of winning that championship and being the first person to hold that above your head. What was that feeling like for you? Was it just like another match, or was it like this is a major moment in my career?
Um, I mean, it is it is just another match. One of in I mean it's both, but for starters, it is just another match. One of the best pieces of advice I ever got was I got it from two different people. I got it from Roddy Piper. I also got it from Scott Norton. Both of them. The reason I got it is because both of them at different times, different shows altogether. I had asked them for advice. I said, "Did you see any of my work? Is there anything you could tell me?" And both of them gave me the same answer. First, they looked at me like I'm an idiot. And then they both basically told me, "Look, if you're doing what you're doing, you are where you are. If you made a mistake out there, I don't need to tell you. You know damn well what you did wrong because you're in there. You can feel it. You know what the problem was, and you can't change it because that match is done. You're gonna have 1,000 more, so move on." And that's the way I've taken everything. So people ask me, "What's your dream match?" The next one. I don't have idols in this, and I could be at a pay per view one night and it's like, was this a dream come true? I don't know. I gotta be at Raw tomorrow. Like that, there's always the next one, and that's the way I looked at this one too, in a way. But in a lot of ways, it was validating, because you spend so long, and I don't know, year 18 maybe at the time. So you spend so long doing all these things, and I had been in New Japan, CMLL, AAA, TNA, Ring of Honor before this, and never really took on the role of like the star. Like I was never that guy. I was always the guy helping the stars. And so to kind of be, for the first time, be the guy that's put on a run and to have made it work, that's validating, because it's like you think the whole time, I could do this if I was put in that position, but I'm here to help others. I'm going to do that. So the one time it finally comes up that that's what you're chosen to do, and you do it and you knock it out of the park, then it's like, okay, yeah, it was a very proud moment and validating. And it was validating because, it was the first time I got to actually be myself and portray myself and my community. So many times I had been, I've had jobs held over my head if I didn't speak Spanish and be able to portray a Mexican wrestler. And it's like, dude, that's not even it's not even my ethnicity, And I mean, yeah, sort out that many levels of racism. I don't know. Like,
oh, dude.
And so like to finally be like, can I put my people's flag up there? And Hunter says yes. And can I be from LA and this is my name, and I'm this punk rock technical wrestler guy. Yes, be all of that. That's what you are. And it was like, great. Thank God for once I could just be myself. So it's validating for that reason. And, I had a lot of things working against me. I mean, I was beating a lot of people's favorites. People did not like that. So every round, the boos got louder and louder and louder. And it's like, as a guy who grew up a Kobe Bryant guy, like my hero is like the king of dealing with that. So for me, it was like, all right, I'm built for this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make it work. So, I get the best matches I can out of the guys I'm working with and continue to help them be heroes, and then be able to succeed in the end at turning the people the right way. And in a funny way, the people that really disliked me, they worked against themselves, because every single round, another way that I was kind of babied, I would get back through the curtain and Hunter, Regal, Shawn Michaels, Terry Taylor, they'd all be waiting for me behind the curtain to, ask me what I thought, see if I'm comfortable with everything. If I had any questions or if I needed advice, they were there to answer it. And Regal had pulled me aside and said a very primary thing of why I was kind of their guy at that time was because they said, you're able to walk out there with like literally through the fire and do what you're supposed to do in the time you're meant to do it, with or without a language barrier, get the other guy in the position he needs to be to succeed, and also turn everybody to the right reaction that we want at the end. And so, for people that have been so hard on me, they ended up sealing my fate to succeed, because if they would have cheered me, maybe the office wouldn't have cared. But they saw what I was able to do. And I think to them, that spoke to like my professionalism, I guess, is the way they described it. So I was proud for all those reasons.
Yeah, and your reign with the title, I think, could have been a little bit longer, in my opinion. I think they kind of they flipped it a little bit in the early stages of the introduction of that title.
I did ask them to be fair.
Okay.
Before, it wasn't after the first pay-per-view I beat Kendrick, we're going into that second pay-per-view, and I had met with Hunter, and I don't know if this was the reason, but I did ask them. I said, can we flip this title? Because I felt like Brian needed it, and I felt like it was a good story to tell. If they really wanted me, I could always come back to it. That's fine. But like the thing was, from a systematic point of view, we were doing things backwards, and I don't think anybody involved realized it. And to this day, I don't think anybody does. Normally, if you get a guy, and let's say it's like Elias, whoever, Jinder, they get called up out of a developmental or something like that. They're by themselves. They get the spotlight to themselves, and they're going to work opposite somebody like a Jericho or a Roman Reigns or an Undertaker or something like that, Shawn Michaels, whoever. And they're going to interrupt them, have some kind of confrontation. They're going to look strong against them, and most likely they're going to beat them out the gate, And if they don't beat them, they're at least going to get the better of them in some way, even if they lose. And from that point on, they get to take that momentum with them. So we were doing it opposite. We weren't allowed to mix in with the popular guys, and there was 10 of us coming in together, not one guy. So I thought the worst thing we can do is build it around one guy. I don't want to be the one guy because everybody else is going to suffer, because now everybody's first introduction is going to be the guy that lost to me, and I don't want that. And that's kind of what happens when it got built around, like when it got built around Neville, for example. And I love Punk. I loved having him in the division. I'm so glad we had him, and I would wrestle him 1,000 times in a row. But creatively speaking, the Goldberg run kills everybody, because now we're all La Parka, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so then I thought we should flip it to Kendrick. Then we should flip it to Cedric. We should flip it to Tozawa. We should flip it to, you know, whoever. That's what we should be doing, is make it look like anybody could win at any time. Kind of like the UFC, you know? And that way, when eventually when we get more grounded, more popular, then you can build it around one guy. Like WWE in 1993. It's a 1-hour show, small roster. It's the same thing as like 205. You can build it around Brett, because it's okay if Sean loses. It's okay if Lex Luger loses. People know who they are already. They don't lose
Established.
anything by losing. Yeah. We weren't established. So I remember asking Hunter specifically. We were at Full Sail after an NXT taping, and I said, you know, maybe it's a good idea if we go with Brian. And we did. We went with Brian, and then it went to Rich. I think for a while it was really interesting, because it was like, you know, I could beat Brian, but Brian could beat me. But Rich could beat Brian, but I could beat Swan. And Cedric is coming up, and Jack is coming up, and all these guys are coming. So then it's like you had this interest where, okay, who's going to wrestle who now? That's what I thought we needed. I wish we would have done that for a little bit longer period of time.